Oddly enough, despite how much I actually did enjoy the storyline of Code Geass, it is not my favorite series. I thought it was good, I enjoyed a lot of the characters, the plot lines were interesting, and yet despite all the praise that it gets, something about it just never quite resonated with me. I guess it's mostly because at the start of the series, I expected it to go one way when it continuously swerved in another direction that I was never quite certain if I enjoyed. The first episode was very fascinating, with Lelouch gaining the Geass from CC or C2, however you want to say it, and beginning to take control of various different people, learning the limitations of his Geass, slowly taking on the persona of Zero and rising to more prominence in terms of the rebellion and all that good stuff. That was fine and fascinating. I actually really loved that angle. And the fact that his friend Suzaku, who was from the oppressed nation, had ended up joining the enemy's side and becoming one of their knights. I love that kind of stuff. No, my problem really did kind of become very apparent when a certain character died by a mistake of Lelouch's hand. That was the turning point for me in terms of this series. It was a very bold move to do it, because all things considered, had that character not died, a lot of things about the series would have very much just ended pretty much right there and then. Like, a lot of conflicts could have been avoided had that mistake not been made. And while I get it, it was a way of showing the downsides to Lelouch's Geass ability and how it could be a double-edged sword, it just felt too unnecessary. And for me, that was kind of a thing that kind of broke my feelings towards this series. With as many great moments and awesome plays and interesting directions that came later down the line, I kept losing more and more interest. And because it mostly came from the fact that I started to not really enjoy a lot of the characters. A lot of the charisma I saw in Lelouch went away after a certain point. He started to go in a darker direction with understanding from it on my part. I got why he went in that direction. It made sense. Logically, everything that happens in this series makes a good amount of sense. I'm not saying it didn't in any way. That's not my issue. It's just that the character stopped resonating with me after a certain point. C2 became more prominent after a certain point, especially in terms of the rebellion. Kallen started to take issue with C2 and Lelouch's close relationship, questioning his leadership and all that good stuff. Suzaku, because of what happened to a certain person, he became more volatile as well, with, again, good reason. There were just a lot of things in here that just took twists and turns that were interesting, but I just stopped kind of being on board with a lot of it. It was a great war series, very cerebral, very fascinating. It was a game of chess, more or less, but I remember, as we got into the second season, and I guess maybe because we stepped away from the initial direction of things, whereas, it originally had the school setting, and while they did briefly go back to it for a time being, it just felt off. Like everything you set up in the beginning, we had moved too far away from it, that going back to it felt wrong, and I don't want to over exaggerate this, but kind of dirty to a certain extent. Like, ew, no, you can't do this anymore. You can't go back to that place. You've gone too far in the direction that you wanted to. And I guess that really did come from the end of the first season and most of the second season. And, there was a major loss that they suffered at the end of the first season. Like, things went really to pot. But, I don't know, it really did feel like a series that I would have been fine had they found a way to kind of wrap it up within one season. The second season just really lost me. And it's funny to say that because I also enjoyed the second season more than the first. It's a weird dichotomy. I'm so split on my feelings towards this because, you look on my anime list, you will see outright I have the first season scored at an 8 and the second season scored at a 9. I really was in love with a lot of the things that they did, but my feelings are complicated towards it. I loved it from a technical angle, from the directions and the sacrifices that our characters make, and how everything comes to a conclusion. It's just such a brutal angle, and yet at the same time, the way a lot of things wrapped up, I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about that still. Like, my feelings towards so much of this series is so messy and all over the place. It's the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys. It's a series I hold very close to my heart, but at the same time, I'll still keep it as a bit of at arm's length for the most part. And that's why I still have yet to watch a lot of the sequels and alternate takes and alternate stories and all that, because my feelings towards the series were in those 2 seasons. Those 2 seasons just was all I could do. I just had to step away after that point. And even years later, after initially watching Code Geass, I don't know if I can go back because I'm just not ready to relive all of that stuff again. It was a very heavy series to me in some weird way, and it just affected me in a way that I'm just not ready to revisit. Even though I'm older, I've watched more series, maybe I'll have a better take on it than I did when I was younger. Maybe that's really all that I need. But, and call me what you will, call me a little bitch if you have to, but yeah, I'm kind of bitching out on this one. I don't know if I can rewatch the sequels and spin-offs and alternate takes and all this that at one point I was really excited to see, but every time it came time for me to check it out, I just didn't. My feelings and memories on Lelouch are just complicated. Code Geass is complicated for me, but let me know in the comment section below. Maybe you can be the one to convince me. Are the spin-offs and sequel series something that I should check out, enjoy? I know they made a few, movies or what have you, that kind of summed up the plot of certain things. I've heard rumblings that there's almost a whole new timeline going on for the most part, which has me fairly interested. I know at some point I need to check out Lelouch of the Resurrection, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for all of that. Please convince me. Do what you gotta do. Say what you gotta say. I'm ready for it. And if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And hit the bell icon for notifications. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.